You can Google how to sell or buy a house and get millions of results. There are blog posts, school rankings, mortgage calculators, and market reports going back 15 years. 3 hours later, you're 18 tabs deep watching a TikTok about home inspections in Texas while wondering if you should waive your appraisal in Illinois. I'm Eric with Andersen Realty Group, and that's the world we live in. We're drowning in information, but starving for insight. Mortimer Adler once said, "The possession of knowledge does not mean that one has understanding." That's exactly the problem. In the information age, it's easy to mistake research for readiness. The real danger isn't ignorance, it's false confidence fueled by endless streams of data. Looking up your home's estimate doesn't teach you how pricing works in your neighborhood. And there's the problem of accuracy. We know better than to trust every video we watch on YouTube. But even when we find the correct information, it's just as important to know why something is true as it is to know that it is true. It's the difference between surface knowledge and deep understanding. People don't lose money on a home sale because they never looked anything up. They lose money because they thought reading the rules was the same as knowing how to play the game. Reading interest rate charts won't tell you what your lender will offer you this week with your credit, your debt-to-income ratio, and your goals. Even when the information is technically correct, it still might not apply to you. There's a gap between general knowledge and practical application. And when it comes to real estate, that gap can cost you tens of thousands of dollars. This video is about closing that gap. There's a difference between collecting information and understanding what it means for you, given your situation and goals. Information's important, but it's not enough. If you want more than Google results and guesswork for your next home sale or purchase, you're in the right place. At first glance, real estate data looks like a set of hard facts. There's days on market, price per square foot, asking versus sold price, and the Zestimate. The information feels solid, maybe even scientific. On their own, the numbers might look clearer, but when it comes to real estate, misunderstanding what they mean can be a costly mistake. Consider square footage. It's one of the most looked at metrics in real estate, but also one of the least dependable. Sometimes it includes the basement, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's pulled from an old appraisal or rounded up by the seller. Sometimes it's left out entirely. Two homes might both be listed at 2,000 square feet, but feel completely different inside. One of them might even be off by several hundred square feet. Or consider days on market. A home listed for 45 days might appear stale, but maybe the house just needs the right kind of buyer. A longer market time doesn't always indicate there's a problem with the home. Sometimes finding the perfect match just takes time. And then there's the Zestimate. The Zestimate doesn't know if your roof is 25 years old, if the HVAC works, or if the house backs up to a cell tower. And it knows nothing about the weird cat smell in the laundry room. Algorithms are notoriously bad at knowing the things buyers notice the moment they walk in. Even location data has its pitfalls. Search for homes in Brookfield and you might get results in Brookfield, Wisconsin, even if you meant Brookfield, Illinois. Zillow doesn't know the difference. That's why it's problematic to think real estate data doesn't need interpretation. The same number can mean different things in different neighborhoods at different times to different people. Understanding what something means for you requires context, local knowledge, and experience. Getting accurate data is only half the battle. You also need to know how to read the story behind the numbers. Understanding the real estate market isn't just about numbers. It's about interpreting patterns, psychology, and local nuance. That kind of interpretation takes more than access to data. It requires experience, judgment, and a sense of how the pieces fit together. I was reminded of this recently when seeing Hamlet. Years ago, I would have been completely lost. I might have caught a few of the more famous lines, but many of the nuances, the language, and deeper meaning would have gone right over my head. But this time was different. I'd prepared. I'd studied the play ahead of time, listened to several lectures, and even read a little about Shakespeare's life. When I went to see it, I actually understood what was happening and loved it. Buying or selling a home isn't unlike my Hamlet experience. Without preparation and without someone to help interpret, the process can feel overwhelming. You're surrounded by unfamiliar terms, hidden pressures, and emotional decisions that are hard to make sense of in the moment. It's like reading Shakespeare in a language you don't speak. Interpretation matters, and it's helpful to have a guide. Even the best athletes in the world have coaches. So do sports teams, even though the players know the game inside out. Conductors don't teach musicians how to play their instruments, they help them achieve a greater degree of excellence than they could ever manage on their own. Smart people surround themselves with those who bring experience, insight, and the ability to see what they might miss. Intelligence isn't about having all the answers, it's about knowing what you don't know and building the right team. Real estate works the same way. Even well-informed buyers and sellers can make costly mistakes when trying to navigate the market alone. Reading blog posts and watching videos is helpful, but it's not the same as learning from somebody who's walking with you and has been through the process hundreds of times and knows what works and what doesn't. So what kind of guide do you need, and what qualities should you look for in them? If real estate requires interpretation and interpretation requires a guide, then the next question is, what kind of guide do you need? The answer depends on whether you're selling or buying a home. These are not mirror images of the same task. Buyers and sellers have different goals, different challenges, and different strategies. Selling a home requires a strategist and a marketer. A listing agent knows the unique place your home occupies in the market, how to price it appropriately, and get the most attention both on and off the MLS. They anticipate objections before they arise and prepare the property and the seller to address them. They manage showing schedules, guide staging decisions, and help navigate the pressure that comes with multiple offers or the uncertainty that comes when the interest is slower than desired. In many ways, a great listing agent is part marketer, part negotiator, and part stage manager. They're responsible for setting the scene and managing the performance so that buyers can see the home's full potential. Buying a home requires a different kind of guidance. A buyer's agent needs to be part matchmaker, part negotiator, and part therapist. They can help clients understand what they truly want versus what sounds good. They help navigate trade-offs, assess risk, and make calm decisions when emotions run high or momentum diminishes. A skilled buyer's agent knows how to keep perspective when urgency sets in. The way they negotiate, the language and approach they use can make or break an offer. They know when to be bold, when to pull back, and when to walk away. They're part strategist, part detective, and part hostage negotiator. They understand that finding the right home is more about reading people than reading data. The role of the listing agent and the buyer's agent are not interchangeable. Some agents can do both well, but they are a different skill set. A good agent doesn't just show up. They show you what you might miss on your own. They don't replace your judgment, they refine it. You can absolutely learn through the process, but you shouldn't have to do it alone, nor should you have to settle for just anyone. So how do you find the right guide? This is where things like mindset, track record, and overall philosophy become important, and this is what we'll turn to next. It's easy to choose an agent based on the obvious metrics: years in the business, number of homes sold, and 5-star reviews. These may all sound impressive, and they can be a helpful starting point. But there's more to having a great agent than just these things. The most important question isn't how long someone has been licensed, it's how wisely they think, how carefully they act, and how faithfully they guide. Real estate transactions rarely fall apart because the agent is brand new. The new agents tend to be some of the most careful, and at least in Illinois, their early transactions require heavy involvement from their managing broker. Deals fall apart when the wrong kind of advice gets followed. That is why mindset matters just as much as experience. A great agent does more than open doors and fill out forms. They bring curiosity and sound judgment into every situation. They're thoughtful and committed to learning. They ask great questions, notice the details that are easy to overlook, and care deeply about their clients' satisfaction. Experience matters, but it needs context. Has this agent handled difficult situations in the past? Have they worked in a range of market conditions? Have they learned from both success and failure? Success tends to teach us very little. Failure is a much greater teacher. Some agents have the benefit of 20 years of growth and learning. Others have repeated 1 year 20 times. Our ability to communicate is just as important. The best agents don't hand you a stack of papers and expect you to figure it out. They take the time to explain what matters and why. They don't overwhelm you with irrelevant facts and numbers as if their job were to impress you with their great knowledge. They help you sort through the information and help you understand what it means for your unique situation. This becomes even more important when things get difficult. Real estate is emotional. There are setbacks, surprises, and high-pressure situations. A good guide doesn't make a difficult situation worse. They provide clarity and calm insight. They help you think soundly when the stakes are high and time is of the essence. Of course, local knowledge is valuable. You want someone who understands the neighborhood. But location expertise isn't everything. Some agents know every block in town, but still give terrible advice. The ability to think critically and advise wisely matters just as much, if not more. A good agent blends data with discernment. They provide both strategic thinking and emotional intelligence. They're part guide, part translator, part advocate, and part advisor. When someone you work with is just like that, the experience isn't just smoother, it's smarter. You're not just making decisions, you're making informed decisions. We started this conversation with a familiar scenario. Too many tabs open, too many opinions, and too little clarity. Buying or selling a home can feel that way. The information is endless, but the best path forward isn't always obvious. And with tens of thousands of dollars on the line, confusion can be expensive. It's important not only to know what to do, but why you are doing it. Anyone can Google information, but the results aren't always accurate. And even when they are, it's important to understand what it means for you, to see the big picture, to be able to weigh the trade-offs and make decisions that hold up under pressure. This is where having great guidance comes in. The best decisions aren't based only on facts. They come from an understanding of your specific situation, needs, and goals. This comes only with the right questions, the right perspective, and the right experience. You don't have to know everything. You don't need to predict the market or memorize a bunch of terms. You need someone who can help you think clearly, ask the right questions, and make decisions that are grounded in wisdom rather than guesswork. Buying or selling a home is a complex process, and it can be overwhelming at times. The good news is you don't have to go it alone. If you're thinking about selling or buying a home, I'd love to be your guide. Reach out for a consultation or even just a conversation. Whether you work with me or someone else, make sure you're working with someone who will help you move from information to insight. That is how you get it right, not just on paper, but in real life. I'm Eric with Andersen Realty Group, a family-owned brokerage where we treat our clients like family.